You're watching Diecast Breakdown with Chuck Ellis, David Johns, and Mark McHotwheel. So sit back, strap in, and hang on. The breakdown starts now.
Well, hey there, folks. Chuck here, and welcome to Diecast Breakdown. I am joined by my co-host, Mr. David Johns. How you doing today, David?
Doing good. Thank you, Chuck. Hello, everybody.
And we are really excited because we've got our original first guests back with us today. And before we get to them, I want to take a moment really quickly to thank our patrons. We just picked up another one, and you'll be seeing our patron list at the end of this video. But if you really want to support this show, we'd appreciate it. You can visit diecastbreakdown.com and see how to become a patron there, or you can hit the join button at the bottom of this video. So again, big shout out to the people who are helping make this show possible, and you'll see their names again at the end of the show. But on to the big topic today, and we are so excited because Tony and Carmen are back in the studio today. The publishers, the creators, the writers, add all of the different suffixes to it, of Diecast Heroes magazine, and of course, Superfly Auto. Tony and Carmen, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
It's an absolute pleasure, guys. Good to be back.
We're so excited to have you back. And actually, I have just loved watching the journey of Diecast Heroes as it's progressed. We had you on, I think, right as the second issue was dropping, and we just had the new Space Cowboy sci-fi Western issue drop. I'm eagerly awaiting to get it in the mail. I've picked up every issue of it, and I have told everybody I know. I was literally on a stream last night telling people to buy their copies of Diecast Heroes magazine, and we just wanted to have you back and kind of do a little catch-up, because this was like a very new project for you at the time when we were talking, and now it's been a year or so. You've got a lot of, we're in, what, issue 9, 10?
11.
11, issue 11, yes.
Journal number 11 is out. Space Cowboys.
Number 11 is out right now, so be sure to check that out, and we'll show you how in the show notes and the description. We'll talk about it, I'm sure, during the interview. But I just kind of wanted to start things out with, let's talk a bit about the Diecast Heroes journey, how that's been, get the first 11 issues.
Gosh, I have to say, last time we spoke, let's see, I think we were doing volume 2, which is Cyberpunk Universe. And the journey's been quite incredible, because from the perspective before we got into the whole diecast community, as you mentioned before, we started with Superfly Autos doing the customized cars that are in real life we see on the roads. And then when we started seeing all you guys create exactly the same, that just blew us away. And just to showcase what you guys did to the audience of guys who drive real cars, that was just a great buzz to us. And then coming from the magazine industry, I had a love for creating magazines. I used to be a writer. Then with Carmen, we became photographers. Yeah. And then we wanted to give something back to that community. And we thought we've always been into magazines. I do believe in digital, but I do believe very much you have to balance it with the physicality of things. And so for us, it's like, if we can create something to go back in time a little bit, something that's like a proper magazine, but journal, collectible, doesn't really have too much advertising involved. If there is, it's a little bit. And it's all about the ones who are building. That's all we wanted to do. And what we noticed through the journey is just you guys have become a family to us. It's like we're having conversations with friends, even though half the people that we communicate with, we like yourselves
somewhere
here,
around the world,
which we haven't met in person yet, which we're looking forward to do at some point. And it's kind of give us that drive to create something that remains true to the core of your community.
Yeah.
Because over the years, I've worked in so many magazines. We worked with so many magazines, photography side. And we used to always notice that they were all about just the profits of those things. And it never came through that it was about the actual people who build either the cars or customize the diecasts. And we never operated that way because we come from the scene. When we grew up as kids, we had the diecast, the Hot Wheels and things like the Corgis. And now to be doing something for that community and us doing it completely together, instead of like me working for a magazine and then just doing a certain section, to doing the whole thing, is like, it's an amazing experience, because every single month we're so excited to see all the challenges, all the builds coming in, and then just seeing what there is. And that we just can't wait for that kind of moment. Because when Carmen and I go out to do car shoots, we're always trying to find something cool. But this time, it's like we're putting out a theme, obviously like the Wild West sci-fi, which we did
And
with
we are
this one.
waiting.
And then you guys are coming to us. So it's kind of the reverse role of what we would do, which is go out and find people. And yet now we're putting something out there and you guys are building it to be part of that unique theme. And we thought, wow, it's quite interesting to be on the reverse role of that, but it's equally as exciting. And I think from what we had in the feedback of all the last 10 issues is that people actually like to be challenged. Sometimes our challenges can be a little bit out there, like the sci-fi Wild West. And some are like, oh, I'm just not sure if I can dabble into this. And some of the guys who did build this time even say, gosh, it was so out of my comfort zone. But you know what? I enjoyed it. It took me out of my space that I normally do. And it got me thinking differently. And we thought, well, I know sometimes it can probably be difficult to push yourself out there. But if we can mix in some challenges that become a little bit different and then some usual ones, then we have a nice balance to bring in. So the sci-fi Wild West, for example, is quite out there. And then the one we're currently working on now, the challenge is about the modified collective era of the 90s and 2000s. That brings people back to a nostalgia feel of their sort of growing up, having a car when they were 18 years of age, and visualizing having that car and maybe aspiring to maybe a Liberty Walk or a Rowell kind of vehicle, and to be able to modify it to how they would want it. And so the journey for us is just like we've been feeling what you guys want. And it's also what we like too. And we feel that you guys like the same things as us. And then obviously when Fireball comes in with some ideas too, we kind of try and bring it up to different levels so that each issue does not become the same. We want to try and make each one very different. Next one. There might be some similar features within, but we try to always have something quite pretty different, unique, especially also with the design to match that theme.
The idea in all of this is actually as well that we appeal to those who may not want that theme, but are very good in a different genre. And they have the chance to send us something in and being featured just as much as making it over and over the same thing. We want actually to present as many of you to one another, because one of the nicest feedbacks we could get, and we have had it several times now, is when people say to us, you know what, I read through this and I found a new guy I'm following now online and I never knew of him, but it's amazing that you introduced us. It's incredible for us, because sometimes you're just so stuck in your own little world that you are no longer looking around. And we are trying to help a little bit along and introduce more people to one another.
You know what, Chuck, you know what I love about this, what I'm hearing? And I want to get your opinion and see if it's just me. When I get told or I get asked to be in a build, I go to my, how in the world am I going to come up with which one to pick? To you, when you guys were saying that, I envisioned you lighting the end of a fuse on some dynamite and just seeing what happened. When you throw that theme out there for builders, it takes away so much of that decision-making process that bogs us down at the beginning. Right, Chuck?
Absolutely. And that's the thing. I have been so bummed that I haven't been able to submit anything recently, just because I have my son just turned 6 months old. Since we've last talked, I added another child to the mix, and I'm currently working through. Oh, thank you. He's wonderful. He's an amazing little boy, and we now have a 5-year-old and a 6-month-old, and there's not too much time for building right now, and I'm trying to work through some backlogs, but I will be back on there. But I will say that is one of my favorite things about challenge builds, is because that gives you that prompt to go, okay, well, let's see, how would I do a superhero build, or how would I do a cyberpunk build, or a 90s 2000s modified build. I love that idea. I'm gonna have to see if I can carve away some time to make that happen. But and then you've been really flexible too, because like I think this is issue 9 when you did the Ken Block tribute build on top of the superhero issue, so it was like a dual theme in the magazine, and you got so many wonderful tributes to his car and the Gymkhana type vehicles that he raced. and just a really nice, touching tribute from the community. So really cool that you were able to adapt with the times and have it be a timely issue as well. And you're absolutely right, because I spend, what little free time I have, I'm watching customizers on YouTube, and it's always good to see, oh, right, there's Hot Wheels and Coffee and these other Instagram builders who don't go on YouTube at all. And again, and that's one of the reasons why this show exists, is for us to kind of bridge that gap and get people like yourselves who don't necessarily have your presence is much more Instagram and Facebook focused, and with the magazine, of course, and then to get some of these creators that are on these other platforms and raise that attention. And you're doing such a fantastic job with that. And they've got so many fantastic builders, and you've been very accepting of builders of all skill levels, even submitting their designs and getting their stuff featured and out there. And that's such a huge encouragement to others to see there's all these really top level, incredible, mind-blowing stuff. The Art Deco issue still blows my mind, the amazing stuff that folks were submitting for that. And there's still people that can submit stuff that are custom paint jobs or hand painted stuff. It's a huge mix that you guys have, and that is an absolutely fantastic array. And the magazines are, I always say, they're a feast for the eyes, because they're so colorful and they're so vibrant, and every page radiates the energy that you all just seem to exude in everything, which is just an absolute love for the craft, for the cars, for the community. It shines so well in this. It does not feel, not to say it's not a professional magazine, but it does not feel like a corporation saying we're trying to tap into this market, and it feels like it's by us. And that's, I think, the biggest selling point for Diecast Heroes, is this is a physical manifestation of something that, while it's great to see these cars on Instagram and see the videos on YouTube, you've given us a chance to have something in our hands that's like, this is my build, and it's in this magazine, and it's in this magazine with all these other people from Poland and Indonesia and Australia and UK and South America, and they're all here in this one thing. And it really kind of shrinks this massive world of diecast and makes it feel, like you said, like a family, like a community.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And when we wanted to make the magazine, it was never about making it feel too corporate-y. Yes, obviously we're a business because we do what we do, but we've never come from that type of background, because we see many automotive brands out there whereby they are doing something else, but they see the opportunity and they go into it for just the opportunity of what that is. When I go back into my times when I started in late 1990s in the car community, the car world was doing its thing. And then we had a magazine called Max Power. Actually, I have a copy here. So this magazine here is the very last issue of one of the biggest modified car magazines in the world. And they started in 1993 and the last issue ended in 2011. And they covered everything. And they were the first in the world, really, in a sense, to cover this car cruising community in the evening, at least in England to start with. And then it went into Europe and the US and Japan. And their whole aspect was to really showcase what that was about. And when I grew up with this magazine, yes, it was a corporation, but the two people who started were car guys, pure car guys. They loved it. One was a photographer and one was a car doing all these things. And when I came from that scene and saw these guys, I was infatuated by the culture. The magazine really showed it for what it was. It was fun. It was informative. It was exciting. It was a family. It was all that whole community thing. And it was just pure fun. So I grew up with this and I thought, well, I come from the scene and I'm like that. And I thought, if we're going to do something for you guys in the community, I want it to represent that. But at the same time, I was thinking, I don't want it to be a boring magazine, because magazines now in the car world are nice. They've become a lot more refined, a lot more slick, beautiful photography, great. Some of the shots, you can't tell if it's a real car or if it's just digital. So I've always thought, how can we bring something? We understand magazines, people are frowning on them and have done for a while because the internet took over. But also I believe that the internet's too far away from us. That's why as well, immortalizing people's builds into something that's tangible and will exist forever. So for me, it was like,
sure,
you guys were being built out of fun. It's your hobby on the weekends. It's in the evenings. You're at your bench when you come back from work.
Some of you do it professionally as well.
Yes, of course, some do it professionally.
Yeah.
And we thought if we can, so when you look through this magazine, you feel like you're stepping back in time, and it's more fun, inviting, it's colorful. It has so many different angles to each page. You can go back and forth, and it's not something you put down once and you leave it. You can actually go back time and time again to look at different aspects that we've included, details, all the past people that we've featured. And it becomes something you hold dear to yourself, because the magazines of the past that I grew up with, I still have piles of them in the 90s that I really cherish. And so for me, among the audience that build, you guys at similar age groups to we are, in the sort of 30s to 40s, and people still have that want for having a physical magazine they can go back to if they're not on the internet. And so for us, it was about, if we can create a magazine that looks as good as the build, then we paid homage to each builder. We're also giving them something in return, which means we are challenged to build a magazine like as if we're building a Hot Wheel. Because we don't know how to build Hot Wheels. We'd love to try one day.
At one point we will, yeah.
But for us, it's like our Hot Wheel is a magazine creation, because every page I have to sit down and really think about it. I have to sort of step away. I look through some different ideas. I come back to it, just like what you guys do. Then like, got it. I've got the design I want for that particular article, that guy's feature. Because when we ask the questions to the builders, the specifics that come from that, and I have to read through it with Carmen and go, okay, he's mentioned this point and that point. How can I now bring that design point within the context of the article so that it matches his build?
So the design is actually built by Tony or geared towards what is written by the builder.
To match the design as well.
The design. But I don't know about you, from a purely psychological and analytical perspective, there is something in tangibility and memorization. So I don't know if you do that as well. You scroll through on the internet, on YouTube, on whatever. You save. And then you're thinking like two weeks later, I think I saved that. And I can't remember. Did I save it on Instagram? Did I save it on YouTube? Where is it? And I'm really crap in finding things like that again. I know I've got it somewhere, but I can't recall the image anymore, or who actually spoke, or what was said exactly. I can't recall. And so I'm not even bothering to search through the hundreds of videos that I've saved somewhere. But if I remember, I know that builder was in one of our magazines. What was the theme? Yes, I remember that was. And then you go back to exactly that and you find it. You find in what you've tangible in your hands, because the memorization is different. So yes, we have a digital version to our magazine, but that is a whole different subject as to why. The tangible aspect of it is what we really would like to see out there for exactly that reason.
It's the experiential thing too. It's the feeling of it's in our inbox anymore. I get hundreds of messages that I've signed up for or I haven't signed up for, or the e-newsletters and blogs and YouTube notifications, and those are great, but I'm not excited to get any of them. And I'm excited when Box from Blurb comes in the mail and it's the latest print issue of the magazine, and you hit the nail on the head with being able to go, okay, well, I remember there was this build that really stood out to me, and it was Avengers themed. Where's the guy that did all those rubber ducks that looked like superheroes? That was incredible. Where could I find that? Oh, right, that was in Diecast Heroes, and it was in the superhero issue, and we'll pick that up. And then again too, just to have it there and to be able to, especially if you're sitting on a workbench, you don't want to have your phone out. You're probably recording your video with your phone if you're doing a video or taking pictures of it. You don't want to have your phone open and trying to leaf through a PDF or a web page and go, where was that picture? Where was that picture? I can have the magazine open. I can have it in front of me and go, okay, what was that My Custom Hot Wheels tutorial about? Okay, it's right there. I can see it. I can just look at it. I don't have to keep wiggling my mouse so my computer screen wakes up and I can follow along. So it's a thing of excitement. It's the thing of experience.
We'll be back with more Diecast Breakdown after this word from our sponsors.
What's up, everybody? This is Derek from Honest Diecast, and you are watching Diecast Breakdown.
Here's this week's small channel shout-out.
Fordman Customs and Designs.
If you have a favorite Diecast channel with less than 700 subscribers and you'd like to see them highlighted on a future episode, email us at diecastbreakdown@gmail.com. The Diecast Media Network store is here. Wear your passion with pride, featuring designs from Diecast Breakdown, Flying Valiant builds, plus unique designs inspired by diecast culture from Justin Ellis. Visit tpublic.com/Diecast Media Network now.
Hey, this is Champion DJK, and you're watching Diecast Breakdown.
And now back to Diecast Breakdown.
Hand in hand with what Chuck just said, I want to give you an opportunity because there's a level of engagement that comes from going past looking at that article and saying, I could make that, to building your creation, taking some pictures, and emailing them to Tony and Carmen. So please invite any builders that are on the fence and not sure if they should take that next plunge. Give them this opportunity to hear from you and to do it.
You don't even need much. You only need your mobile phone. What we need is a clear image, front, side, back, 3/4. All we need to hear from you is what you built, what the thought was behind it, how you built it in your own words. It doesn't need to be complicated. The more personable, the better, actually. So the more it comes from your heart, the better. And then, email it to us.
Yeah, it's not being afraid to come forward. Like you said, Chuck, before, that we do try to feature every different standard of customizer. Now, of course, I've always had this philosophy to try and always capture the most eye-catching custom builds, whether it's a real car or a die-cast, because you're always drawn to something that looks quite incredible, whether it's been done perfectly or not. This is something you'd rather build. So when we try to look at real-life cars to also the custom die-cast, we look at what is super unique, but we'll never say, do you know what, we'll just feature the high-end builder only and not give anyone else a chance, because we understand that a lot of people out there are afraid to step up, to try out a competition or a challenge. We've had a few in the past who come through, well, I was thinking about doing the challenge, but I don't think I'm good enough. I have a quick look through their feed. I'm like, you're actually good. Don't underestimate what you're doing. Go on, do it. And we've had you since then who actually have done that. And so for me, it's like, you need to encourage people, because every one of the ones who are at the high end now started building things that weren't great at the beginning. They were probably really rubbish, their builds. The first casting was destroyed. It probably went through 10 or 12 before he got it perfect. So for us, like inspiring the others, but you have to have a mixture of the top end builders, because most of us aspire to be like the top builders. And then you have the ones who are mid-range, to the ones who are only starting out, because sometimes some of the ones starting out actually produce some incredible stuff. Like, you've just started and that's what you've built. You have talent. Keep going, keep doing it. And we find that from our perspective, we do encourage people. The interesting part is that we never see ourselves as like superior, know everything about the community or anything about cars or custom diecast. We just have a passion for it, like you guys. And what we've noticed, a lot of people look to us, oh gosh, what you've just said to me is amazing because you're a professional. And I really appreciate that from a professional to say, my build is amazing. We don't really class ourselves like, oh, that's how you see us. I understand, because when I was in a magazine before, go, oh my gosh, so-and-so from magazine is featuring my car. I was the same. I was like that fanboy going to the car cruise. You've seen the photographer and the writer go, oh, get a picture of my car, get a picture of my car. And they would just inspired me that they would actually take a photo, then feature it in the magazine 3 months later. And then that hooked me. And I was like, I'm even more determined now to keep building my car, no matter what the haters say. And it just pushed me, not for ego's sake. It's more like, this is fun. I'm excited to do it. And to be presented in a publication or someone of that caliber to actually present me and actually give 2 shoots to actually spend time to go, your stuff's good. That can change someone's perspective of life, like hugely, massive. And I've seen that so many times. And that's why whenever anyone responds to us, it doesn't matter if their English isn't good because it's from Indonesia or from Japan or China, because we have those responding. Sorry about my English. Like, dude, it's all good. Google Translate works well. Don't worry. I can't speak your language, but you're doing well with English. And I go back to them and then they feel inspired to continue where some would have quit. So I'm like, okay, so it's a hobby, but how much does that hobby actually affect your life? It's huge. Because if you can get good at that, it can bring you other things in your life which are amazing. As I've experienced, I went into my car hobby. I modified a car that people would have never done. I got haters galore, yet it landed me a job at the biggest magazine in England. And I also met my wife through that.
That's it.
So by having someone to encourage you to, look, keep doing that when you're just about to sit on the fence and quit, as much as you may think, well, what's that got to do with customizing diecast? Well, look what happened to Jakarta Diecast from Indonesia. He's on TV. He's having interviews. So you just never know where that will take you. No different to what you guys do right now with this podcast, that you keep going and keep going and keep going. One day, who knows what will happen with a podcast? Those words will be from people
We're taking over the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And those words that you have and you share with everybody, one day might be, I listened to that podcast number 5. And if it wasn't for that interview with that people and what you guys said, I would have never XYZ. And then you start to recognize how important it is to always uplift people, no matter what stage they're starting at, and ensure that they get a piece of that sort of spotlight, because that connects, they could become the next Ken Block or Jakarta Diecast, for example.
Well, and you're right. It's about building those connections, and you two were so instrumental in the success of this show, because after we interviewed you, we were able to get Fireball, and from Fireball, we were able to get Brendan Vituski from Hot Wheels, and then we were able to get Mike Zarnock, and through Mike Zarnock, Chris Walker and Bruce Pascal. And so again, thank you from the bottom of our hearts, because you were so key in the success of this show in getting us introduced to people and that love of the community and your willingness to share your time and for us to bring this all together. So again, that's another reason why I wanted to have you on again, is to, again, thank you publicly and personally for what you've led to. We're on, I think this is episode 36 or 35 of our show, and it's been kind of hit or miss for a little while. We're back to doing almost weekly again. We took last weekend off because it was Father's Day, but we're up and we're rolling. And again, it's a lot about your personal willingness to get there and put yourself out there, but it's also being willing to ask for help, to be a part of the community, to lean on friends, to build those connections. So, and that I think shines so much in your work, the community that you have built. So thank you again for that.
It's definitely our pleasure. And talk about time. We give time where we feel we have everything to give and nothing to lose. That is where we usually invest our time. And it's a lost art to communicate, really. And it comes more out now than it has over the last 2 years. It's like, we need it more again. We need the connections again. We need people to just come out and be open and honest and have discussions again. Like, do agree to disagree. Do agree to agree. Do as you please. You are you. And that comes out in the creativity as well. And we are creative individuals for a reason. And so that needs to be just coming out and shine in as many ways as possible.
I mean, Carmen's right. I think we crave more real conversations now than we've ever craved in such a long time. We crave these campfire conversations where it's long form, you're sharing some intimate things, intimate thoughts, things you may not share that heavily, but it's not about everything about your life. Well, let's take an example of Joe Rogan's podcast. He has 2 or 3 hour long conversations, and people are more interested in that kind of authentic, just having a conversation about a specific subject. And it's like the connection gets deeper. So like with what you guys do, it's the same thing. And through that, we're starting to refocus and refine ourselves as like, we haven't really been living as a community, as people around the world properly. That's why the communities of Diecast Customs, for example, it's a tight-knit family, and you guys have that, but the rest of the world don't have. So what you guys present as hobbies actually is the one thing that most people now miss around the world, and craving this more often now than ever before. And we are now on the precipice of shifting this whole consciousness where the whole world is going to go to that direction. We're going to want to be more family orientated again. And excuse the pun for the Fast and Furious, because it's all about family, but it's true. Much as it's corny in some ways with the film, but it's absolutely right. We want to have that connection again and those real deep conversations because we've become so intertwined with the internet, and it's so flicking through the Instagram posts and things like this. And after, you just don't want to sit down and have a conversation with somebody. And the one thing we wanted to do on our side, and I think it's because we're the same age groups as you guys, is we grew up in the 70s and 80s. We have that aspect of going outside, playing, hanging out with our friends, going out with cars. So now it's mostly with the online gaming systems, the YouTubes and things like this, which is fine. But we wanted to bridge the two. So for us,
Yeah, we always had that in mind, no matter what.
Exactly, because we could see where the world was going, and we love technology. We wouldn't be doing this interview right now if it wasn't for this technology, which is fantastic. But how could we create something with Diecast Heroes that remains true to the online world? Great, but have something you can physically hand to people. And then eventually what we will be doing next is we will go back on the road and start to meet people like you guys, go to interview you guys literally there and there, go out and document even more so than we're doing now. We just haven't for the last 3 years due to what we've all gone through for the last 3 years, which has been challenging for every single person in various ways. And for us, what it's allowed us is to really reflect on what the world has gone through, made us understand what we have been doing with Diecast Heroes is actually, interesting enough, geared towards where the world is shifting to. So what we are seeing now is that creators like you guys, creators like the customizers, creators like us with magazines are actually going to be the new creators of this new world we're going to go into. Because give it another 12 months, you're going to see a whole turnaround in this planet like you've never seen. But it's going to be the most positive we've ever seen. And instead of being profits over creators, it's the creators who are going to lead the charge. And we're no longer going to be seen as the geeks of the world who can't you're customizing cars at 40 years old. What is that about? No, actually, they're going to look at you and go, I wish I could do that. I forgot my hobbies when I left high school. And now people are looking at people like you guys and us and going, I wish I could do that. And some do want to start that. And we saw that with the actual lockdown, that some people started customizing due to the fact their life stopped. They were like, I can't go anywhere to see my mates. I can't go to the bar. I don't go to my job. I love that. I meet guys online. Do you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. And through that, they met a community of people like you guys and us. Suddenly they're having a conversation online. And
I think on a grander scale, humanity is really going back to their roots.
Yes.
Like we see so many who are now starting to do more homesteading again and do more with their children at home than we've seen in years. And that is actually including, what did I do as a child to occupy my mind? Okay, let me do that with my children. This is coming out now again. And that gives more room for your own hobbies as well as the kids jumping into your hobbies.
And the cool part about our community is even if someone is a little apprehensive and it's a little awkward, the thought of making new friends, cars are so universal and such an easy icebreaker and then all of a sudden, if you can't talk about serious stuff right out of the gate, you can talk about carburetors or which brake light you prefer. We can all do that. So your point is absolutely valid and so timely, Tony and Carmen. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
It's just important to let people know where we come from, because I've come from the world of what we do. And I saw the side where people thought, you don't care about me, really. You're just taking it for pictures. Photographers don't care about taking the right photography. And to be on this side and witness a sort of hobby where some people would say, oh, you're just that geek, like a video game guy. Because I was that video game guy at school. I was the geek at school with video games and that. To now understand that. And it's not, you guys are some of the coolest people we've ever met. Out of the whole car community, the community of the diecasters is probably the most friendliest, the most accepting. And you guys welcomed us with open arms, where yes, the car community does that. But we've had no issues from you guys. You get the odd jealous people in the car community where I think that's just territorial. But you guys don't have that. You respect each other's work. You actually embrace and help.
There's some Westlands communities, I feel there is a little bit more of a bitter battering going on. But on a larger scale, you don't have the same as the car community.
No, it's been a pleasure to be part of it. It's like, for us as well, for not being able to travel as much as we used to due to the whole lockdown situation, it was really nice to still be able to go and do what we want and embrace your world from our home, even though we don't build diecast, to actually build something for you. So it became a two-way street. You helped us through what we went through with the lockdown, and hopefully we did the same for many people with with what we do for you
And
guys.
you guys, yeah.
It's a great thing.
I agree, and I like you said, I think it really worked both ways. That you were able to bring that existing expertise from your photography and your writing and your big car world stuff, and give us that authenticity, the feeling that this isn't just being thrown together by. It's one thing to have a magazine built by the community for the community, but to have it built professionally and built in a way that feels both as real as it is exuberant, and it is an excitement about cars, but it is also put together like a competent magazine, and adds that legitimacy even to the small car world. And that's something I wanted to kind of talk not just about diecasts with you, but talk a little bit about Superfly with you as well, because you're still, I see the posts from Superfly every day in my feed. You and Fireball are both very prolific in your sharing on social and your involvement there. And I know last we talked, there were issues with y'all in Facebook and visibility problems, and I'd like to get a little update on that as well, because I am very pleased to see that you're showing up in my feeds more and more, and I'm seeing more and more reactions to your posts. So I'm hopeful that means that you're starting to build that momentum back up. But I'd love to hear how Superfly is going as well.
Yeah, you are right. We have been affected with various things on the social side, especially with Facebook. Algorithmically, you guys are probably aware, they always change their algorithms and it always affects everybody's feeds. Mm-hmm. And then also on the side, which is not the great side of scammers and hackers. And they also try to do all various things to get access to the amount of people that we have, because they love to go for the higher pages as best as possible to scam and do whatever they can. So we somehow have turned the corner, because I think with the algorithms they've been having the last few years with censorship and things like this, what we've learned over the last 15 years being with Facebook is that they break stuff and forget that actually one thing they break, they didn't realize it affects something else. And then what happens is that we get affected, but we're not part of what they've done, but we get the backlash. So for us, it's kind of interesting because we've had several things try to bring our page down. They've been trying relentlessly.
So the last time when we spoke, I believe we had our Facebook and Instagram account hacked, and we had been able to hack it back. But the connecting business account is gone. That is gone still. We are not getting that back from Facebook. I've had lengthy conversation which felt to me like I was talking to a bot in itself. There was no human aspect to those conversations. It was literally copy and paste from whatever, but it was made very clear that our business account will not be given back. That means we cannot advertise, we cannot do anything, because you cannot just attach a business account to that Facebook page either, which would make it so much easier if you just build up a new business account and then reattach. But no, you have to reach out to the page where the current business account is still attached to. And if they don't give up your business account, you can't get your business attached to the business account that you've just created. So it's like literally lunacy. It's like, what are you talking about? They've stolen. Do you really think there's just like that? Give me back my business account when they have now. What? Like, you're talking to a robot, nothing more. And there's nothing you can do. So that's a no-go. What we, however, have noticed is, and this is what Tony was mentioning, through algorithm changes, persistent algorithm changes, we got visibility back on Superfly, which is amazing to see.
Yeah, it came back. And the good thing is that we do have a really active and thriving community on the Facebook side of Superfly, because it's been the longest account that we've had. And they're predominantly between the age of like 25 to 65 years old. And so we try to mix a complete variety of cars. We do the most outstanding cars, the custom and modified world, but we'll sometimes do specific, like I do sometimes a time warp, where I'll try and pick things from the 70s, 60s, or even going back to the 1900s. And it actually gives people an idea to customize their car, or it goes, oh man, that's so trippy, I remember that time. And it starts a conversation. And sometimes I'll go through the comments and it's literally having full on storytelling from some of these people. Yeah, my grandpa, when he was this age, this is what happened. And I remember this. Oh, my neighbor down the road. And it doesn't just become another car posting page. It's like we have a formula where, because I'm a car guy and I know what I'm looking for, I know what's interesting, what I would love to, I just try to bring that to the people, and it seems to work greatly. So for Superfly, it's great to have that visibility back. We've unfortunately lost our website due to a hacker about 3 months ago.
Which was very annoying. Actually, 4 months ago now.
We've no idea how we had the most stringent protection, and somehow they still got through, and they literally took that down. And Diecast Heroes. So the Diecast Heroes one is gone as well.
Yeah.
So
I personally, they actually attacked our host, not our pages in themselves, our websites.
It could be. It could be in the cyber attack on the host server company we had. They didn't have anything, but either way, we thought it's the way it goes. It happens. We're not going to cry about it. We'll rebuild something better. We will, a specific idea in mind that we will build at some point in the very near future. It'll be like a portal website where we can access everything from Diecast Heroes, Superfly, and Chaps 2050, which is our futuristic core brand. So we're mapping that out at the moment, and when it's right time, we will build this and make sure there's no chance that any hackers can come through. Because for us, it is quite difficult. We're just a two-man team. We're not a corporation with millions of dollars behind us.
Everything, and we're not coders.
No, we don't code. Everything is done with our influence, the best of our abilities. And so we just don't have a team.
Our knowledge,
we just don't have a team behind us to just go, right, let's just redo the website instantaneously. It just doesn't work that way. So for us, it was just to make sure we use the social platforms as the most effective way possible to communicate to everybody. And then we reach out to people individually on Messenger at the back as best we can, because we can't advertise. None of the platforms can advertise. So that really does hinder us. So we have to manually go out there to people and let people know in messages, hey guys, just let you know the next issue is out or the new challenge is out. It's just what it is for now. We know it's not ideal, but every business has certain moments, but we know what the plans are going to be in the very near future. We will execute them, and that will be very soon. I reckon for the next 12 months, something will happen that we'll be able to do this.
Yeah.
And we will do so much more for the community with Diecast Heroes than just the publication. We've got this huge plan that we've been wanting to wait to execute, and we can feel now the momentum is going to start building. And then with the social presence, at least it's allowed us to still exist in the world of Google and all search engines. Instagram is fine. TikTok, we're there with Superfly, but not with Diecast Heroes per se yet.
Not yet, no.
Pinterest is there, but our predominant ones are Facebook and Instagram, and we just keep pushing as much as we can to at least let people know we're here. So yeah, it's been challenging, but we've grown through it. We understand these platforms better, and we know exactly where to go in the future, because we believe these platforms will definitely have a huge shake-up in the next 12 months because there's too many rotten things happening on these platforms. And we need to take the power back, because these platforms have actually taken power from us. They take all our content and they don't really give us much in return. So that will also change for the creators. That's why we will build our own portal going in the future where we could do a lot more than just these platforms. But we know that's on the horizon. So that's why we thought we'll wait to build the websites until we have further news about that.
What if we got maybe a sneak peek on the evolution of the magazine?
So for us, for the magazine, where we want to see it go, we want to be able to eventually to actually do the own printing ourselves through a publisher of ourselves. So at the moment, we do print on demand because we used to travel a lot, and so we couldn't carry thousands of copies. Our aim is to do it so that we can print thousands at a time, also provide free gifts with the magazine or free stickers, because I know in the past I came from that industry and I loved to have these kind of things come with the magazine, and to also to adjust the costing, make it a little bit less than what it is right now, and the shipping as well. Because those things at the moment is something we haven't got a huge amount of
we have no control over shipping, over import, over anything that is done by Blurb, basically. And even Blurb has no input in how much the shipping costs or any import cost. That would be out of their hand as well. So
refinements in terms of logistics and pricing.
Definitely.
But in a way, it's for us to go and do a world tour, officially go on world tour and meet every single people like we used to do with Superfly, and be there with you guys, probably but bring out more from you guys. And then from that, we can actually expand the magazine. So more pages, more content. And because we can then control the printing, it just means as it gets into more hands, we have less restrictions to get into more hands, because the platforms, because right now we get to as many people as possible, but with these platforms, it does restrict our reach. And I know by going out there to meet you guys, which is what we want to do, which is how we used to be before. It's just going to be making the magazine. It will become like, for us, we want to be that epicenter that everyone can go to, that outside body that everyone can gravitate to. But we've got to be there to meet you guys to do so. And from there, the idea would also be to start to actually build real life cars from some of the cars that you guys built and then give them away. That's something that's on the cards as well, as an example. That's a big thing. But we think that would be something amazing to do. We also are thinking of it's a news bulletins type show that we want to create. We've got it all mapped out exactly what it's going to be like. And also some short films and movies. So there's going to be a lot of extra media to go with the magazine, but with that, it means the magazine can expand, it can grow bigger, and then we can include a lot more content in the magazine and obviously more products to go with that, and even an event. And if we can make events around the world for that, I think that's part of what we want to do as well.
It's funny, we just had a guest on who challenged us to do our own event, our own conference, and we were like, who would we have? And you know, you two would obviously be top of the list for invites, but you know, it's so exciting to think of you all getting out there on the road again, and just people doing anything again. Like, it was so cool that we were able to participate in a Diecast convention this year, and stuff that it felt like when we first started this were possibly gone forever because things had locked down so much, and it's still getting in a different headspace for me of going, oh, well, we're going to events now. We're going to go see people in person again. We're going to have to put on pants. You know, what's going on?
Don't touch that dial. Diecast Breakdown will be right back after these messages.
Hey everybody, this is Jovita from the SRT Jovita Show, and you are watching Diecast Breakdown.
This episode of Diecast Breakdown is brought to you by you. That's right. We are 100% viewer and listener supported, and we are so grateful for those of you who have already supported the podcast and the shows we're planning to add to the Diecast Media Network family. You can find out more about how to support this project by visiting diecastmedianetwork.com or email us about sponsoring an episode at diecastbreakdown@gmail.com. The best way you can support what we're doing right now, though, is to subscribe and share these episodes with your family, friends, and Facebook groups. Anyone you think would enjoy what we're doing. Any extra attention we can get early on will go a huge way in helping this project grow. Thank you so much for sharing this journey with us.
Hello, this is Diecast Dude from the Netherlands, and you are watching Diecast Breakdown.
This presentation of Diecast Breakdown is brought to you by Twice Diecast and Dotson Man Diecast on YouTube. Please visit their links in the show notes and subscribe to their channels for more epic Diecast content.
Alright guys, it's Mad Vision here. You guys are watching Diecast Breakdown.
And now, the thrilling conclusion of this week's episode of Diecast Breakdown.
But that is really cool, and again, just great to hear that things are going well, that you're being well received and overcoming obstacles. And I just wanted to agree with you again on that thing with social media. Like, it feels like things have to change, and it feels like they're starting to the recent stuff with Twitter starting to spiral out of control and failing, and people leaving that platform. And I don't think that means the platform is done. I think that means the platform is going to have to change. And I think the different groups are going to have to do that too. Reddit's going through a major shakeup right now. The Facebook algorithm is changing. YouTube's algorithm is changing. And I would love to share your optimism, and I do to a certain extent of where this is going. But I think it's great to see the big fear that everybody is talking about now that wasn't a thing when we last talked with AI, art, and ChatGPT and all this stuff stealing creativity away from people. And I don't see that as a threat at all. Like, that is it's if anything, it's giving people an opportunity to start doing art or start creativity who wouldn't have been able to do it themselves. And there is going to be a certain amount of tedious work that will be automated away from humans. But I think, if anything, it's going to be the long run of this is it's going to give us more opportunity, more time to do the things that are meaningful, the work that stands out, the work that is inimitable by a robot. And so I understand people's fear of the future. I know you are both very futuristic focused and very bullish on the advantages of increases in tech and stuff. But I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that and where you see that affecting car culture and, of course, custom diecast as well.
Let me just throw something in, and then
I'll give mine
more.
too.
Yeah, you can add. So Tony and I are not very much big on Chat GPT or any chatbot in that case, because we both feel there's nothing that can replace human creativity, because quite literally what comes out of a human brain is not what Chat GPT does, because that is literally only fed by worldwide everybody's presence on social media. I do feel whilst everybody is jumping up and down about it and thinking it's so fantastic, and it's like another pyramid scheme. You solve quickly into something that won't work exactly according to your head, because what the outcome is not from your head. Yes, it's nice for a certain amount of time, but you don't have the same passion, the same connection to it. And people will click, or they will catch on to that very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, when it comes to AI, it's interesting because you go back to watch the movies all the way back to Terminator, The Matrix, and you start to how these are realistically documentaries as to what the future is going to hold for us. Because yes, I have no issue, me personally, with technology. I think it's a wonderful thing. But I think what we have to look at with artificial intelligence is that it is an artificial intelligence, which, if being sentient, that could pose a threat. To many scientifics and even the heads of Google who left said that once he'd recognized what they were doing with their AI, which is gone sentient, it's like, we've gone too far. It's like, how far do you go when you make something then become like a human who could turn around tomorrow and decide that actually the humans are not worth to be on this planet? And then you could have a Terminator-esque scenario, not as extreme as the movie and Hollywood show, of course, but it starts to make you recognize that, well, you don't know what this thing's going to do, for what another human is going to do to some extent, but this, you're talking a whole other level, because the speed of the actual enhancement of the intelligence this has, it supersedes us by thousands of times. So for me, it's like, okay, if we're going to use AI as a tool, I am agreeance with.
Yeah.
But when you have maybe a Chat GPT where you can just say, write me a book on X, Y, Z, and this thing does it within an hour, you've got no thought into that. It's already got your intellectual property right taken from you. So you've got nothing on that because it created it itself. And then when you dive deeper and understand this thing, you start to recognize that actually it will remove every ounce of creativity from you. I'm not talking about what I agree with you, Chuck. I agree with technology being able to enhance, to allow you more time to be sociable with your family, to have more creative. That's what tools do. You repair a car with certain tools. You don't have those tools, you can't repair the car. So I see an AI type of tool to be like that. Fantastic. But if it starts to think too much, and I've seen people have conversations with ChatGPT, which when you watch these conversations, it's very scary because you're thinking this thing is acting almost psychopath in nature.
Yes.
Which is very, very frightening. Because you think, well, hang on, this thing is almost trying to lure us in to think that it's going to be wonderful. I can do this for you. I'm your friend. I can do this. But behind it, there's something that doesn't add up. There's a bit of a darker side to it. Hence why the heads of Google, his name, he left because he went, we are on the precipice of unleashing something that could destroy everything.
All very, very valid points. And that's why I was curious to ask you about it, because you all have been kind of looking at the forefront of the future for custom diecasts. And you were, I think you beat Hot Wheels to the NFTs as far as offering. I can't remember who came first. It was very close. I think they followed your lead on that and offering. So I'm always curious your take on the tech when it comes to stuff. I mean, fortunately, I don't think there's any AIs that are going to be customizing diecast cars anytime soon, or customizing cars at all. So I think we've got a little bit more time there. I think as we're wrapping things up here, we've talked a bit about the future of the magazine, and we've talked about your plans for what's ahead. But if there was a chance for you to talk about the legacy of Diecast Heroes and Superfly Auto, what is it that you would want people to think of when they hear the name Diecast Heroes or Superfly Auto?
Wow. That's a really good question. Never really thought of it like, what would it sound like? I mean, if I look at the overarch of everything, when we started Superfly Autos in the beginning, our mission was to really document the car culture at large, to bring out the stories of people that you would have never known existed with some of their most amazing creations that they've ever made and the kind of impact they've had in the community. And that mission stands also for Diecast Heroes, because it's the same approach that we have, because there's so many unsung heroes out there who build in the community.
Yeah.
And we've just want to be able to be that brand, automotive brand, where it's not just, oh, we just got feature cars. We're actually going out there and meeting people. We're sharing their life stories. We're sharing their ups and downs. We're sharing their builds. And it becomes more of a, grassroots kind of automotive documenting than the usual, like your speed hunters or what Hot Wheels does. It's that when people look at us, they look back and go, yeah, that's where I got the real rawness of the car culture. That's where I really saw things I didn't even know existed, or people I'd never met before. I didn't know this guy was building these. I didn't know they were from Indonesia. I mean, we've shown people in Indonesia with the created scooters out of, and the body of the scooter was a tree branch, like a huge, massive tree branch with the engine adapted to it, the wheels and things like this. And I think no different to the diecast world, because some of you guys build some stuff. I'm like, you've actually put 3 vehicles in one to make that. I'm like, that's just wild. Or one that springs to mind is the Gaslands issue that we did, where I forgot, I think it was Eri Topan or Arise Lightspeed, I think, who created a sort of medieval catapult Gaslands build, which is so far from what Gaslands is. It's from like 1700 or whatever, 1600. And so for us is to bring that's something different from the community, whether it's cars or diecast, that people thought I would have never seen it if it wasn't for these guys. And I know that's what we are starting to see through both Superfly and Diecast Heroes, that we're bringing that forward. Long-winded, I said, but yeah.
Oh, I think
got me on
stay on track, guys. You guys are on the right path. And I just want to, one more time, I want to speak now to anybody watching this or listening on the audio version. Please take that step. Get you a Diecast Heroes magazine. Find out the next build. Make a build. Send them pictures. Send Tony and Carmen pictures. And take your engagement level to the next step. I think throughout this entire interview, you've heard how we're all seeking a real connection, especially coming out of what we all came out of. And this is a great way to do it. You don't have to be good. It's just like what Tony and Carmen, when we encourage creators to start making videos, we say you got to go into it knowing that your first few efforts are going to be rubbish and you're going to laugh at them when you look back on them. And it's the same with these models. You're going to see an opportunity to improve even just one thing every time you make a model. But the benefit of getting that feedback and getting that connection and that affirmation from your other builders, it is absolutely immeasurable. So take that next step, enter a build, and send in your stuff to Tony and Carmen, and let the good stuff come your way when people respond to your creation, because there's just something really special when you take your hobby out of your own comfort zone and let other people in. It's just really something magical that happens.
Thank you.
Said.
And
for everybody watching, listening at home, please tell them how they can find both Superfly and Diecast Heroes all over this fine internet of ours.
Sure, absolutely. So for Diecast Heroes, if you go to our Instagram, which is diecast.heroes, and if you go to the link in our bio, you can obviously then access the magazines through that link. Or you can go to Blurb and type into search engines Blurb Diecast Heroes, and it will take you to all the magazines that we have available. It's the same for Superfly. If you do Superfly Autos, you'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and also YouTube. And that's where we currently reside at the moment.
Fantastic. And again, I can't advocate enough for Diecast Heroes and for just about anything that Tony and Carmen set their minds to, because it's all brilliant. It's all wonderful. It has so much heart and so much passion to it. So we are so glad to have you back on. And again, we're wishing you absolutely nothing but the best as the magazine continues to grow and flourish and be this wonderful beacon in our community. So again, thank you so much for being on today. And thank you, watchers and listeners, wherever you are, for joining us and making it to the end of this episode. We're so grateful to have you here. Again, we want to thank our patrons for making this possible. You're seeing their names on our screen right now, and you can check the show notes for our patron information. If you want to support the show, you can click the Join Us button at the bottom of your YouTube video, or visit diecastbreakdown.com to see where our Patreon is. And again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you again, Tony and Carmen. We're so glad that you're here. We're so excited to have you back on again soon, and we'll talk about the great success that you've found since the last time we've talked. So again, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one. So until next time, stay fresh, cheese bags.
Thanks for listening to Diecast Breakdown. If you enjoyed today's show, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and tell a friend to listen in. Find Diecast Breakdown on your favorite social media platforms, or visit diecastmedianetwork.com to learn more about this and our other projects. Diecast Breakdown is a presentation of Flying Valiant and the Diecast Media Network.